It's time to achieve a work optional lifestyle. This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, powered by Golden Years Financial. For over 30 years, Mark has been helping his clients to and through retirement. Now he's here to do the same for you. Reach out to Mark at 702-258-4455. Now, Golden Years, a roadmap to retirement.
We appreciate you joining us here today, again, for the podcast version of Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement. Now, here's the deal here. We are focusing on you, your golden years, making them the best they can possibly be. So we are here to give you that education that, quite frankly, you deserve when it comes to talking about your money and your income. For more details about Mark Cordner and the team there at Golden Years, just visit gyfinancial.com. So if I gave you 4 topics, number 1 being death, then religion, politics, or your personal finances, which one do you think people would want to avoid most? Mark, what do you think?
No, it's certainly personal finances. That can be a very painful topic,
100%.
especially between couples.
Yes, especially between couples. I'm sure you sit across that desk and it gets a little tense at times talking about personal finances.
It does, and I'm married 37 years. I totally get it. There's things I still can't talk about with my wife, and a lot of it has to do with our upbringing, of course. We all bring anxieties and baggage into relationships and life. It's based upon our experiences. You know, I should say right off the top that, you know, my company is called Golden Years Financial, and the Golden Years is really not about quantity. This isn't about working with old people per se. This is about quality of life. And so when we talk about fear, you know, fear of personal finances, most of us, we didn't get any education really in school or often in families. You know, I come out of a religious community where we don't really talk about finances. It's almost like it's a dirty thing. So I have a lot of admiration for groups that are very open in their families and in their cultures about talking about finances, because most Americans don't. And so we don't know where we stand. There's, for many people, unless you're a very high income earner, for many people, there's a lot of anxiety, and I'm shocked to, you know, when I meet with people, you know, I've met with janitors that have accumulated over $1 million because they've just been great savers. I mean, that's far more common than people realize. Those individuals who have been successful are the ones who don't realize how unique they are, and the ones who have been less successful, often the doctors and attorneys and white collar kind of high income earning professionals who live at 120% of their income, they're the ones who have undue confidence. Where we kind of fit is it's hard to assess for many people. And this is one of the areas where a financial professional can really help, you know, as a sounding board to give us kind of a reality check. And there's all sorts of tools to help with this.
Well, yeah, and, you know, you talk about just the topic of personal finances and money. For a lot of people, it is kind of that taboo subject. And, you know, in today's world, my gosh, we're all kind of looking at social media and it's a status holder. How do they afford that trip? We can't afford that trip. I mean, it becomes a thing of judgment. And it's a very, very personal, held close to your chest and your heart conversation about your money. And, you know, Mark, again, you've been doing this for over 3 decades. When someone sits down with you and says, hey, this is everything that I've ever saved, every penny I've ever done. I mean, that is a very personal conversation to have. And it's really a big deal to build trust with that individual. I mean, how do you do that?
I think it's really about listening. You know, a lot of it goes back to stories I've told before about my father talking about this being sacred money. I was raised with the belief that people's retirement savings, their life savings represents their life energy. I mean, they spent years and their energy accumulating, earning money, and hopefully accumulating some for the future. And that's a sacred thing when they've traded their life for money. And so in a very real sense, we're not talking about money. We're talking about their life. And so we have to respect that, and we have to understand what that money means to them. One of the things I love most, and this is a total sidebar, is I love doing intergenerational planning with my clients, where we're able to build structures into their finances where we can do things, for example, like funding family reunions, even after the original parent is dead and gone. You know, we want those reunions, the values, the non-financial values that come out of those family interactions to continue. So money is what facilitates all of that. And we need some kind of measurement, some kind of metric to kind of know where we stand. And as professionals, we can help clients with that. We can help them see with a very high degree of probability what their odds of success are going forward. There's some wonderful tools. There's a variety of tools that that utilize what are called Monte Carlo simulation software. And basically, these run through a gazillion different algorithms to see what's the likelihood of success. I mean, this is the kind of software that determine what's the odds of getting back from the moon. I live in Las Vegas. It's what the house casinos use to see what are the odds of the houses. This Monte Carlo simulation type technology allows, and we can stress test portfolios to see what are the odds of this portfolio lasting given the client's expectations about a certain spend rate, for example. And so it takes that anxiety of wondering, is this going to be able to last, for example? Am I going to end up being poor before I'm out of time, run out of money before I run out of time? Do you know, by the way, what your options are when you run out of money before time?
No.
I joke about this in my classes. You got a choice. You can either move in with the kids or you can die.
Oh, my
Which
gosh.
do you prefer?
Wow. That's like a turn.
Yeah, it sounds kind of harsh, and it sounds like I'm trying to crack a joke, but not fully. But the funny thing is people always say they'd rather die than move in with the kids. So the truth is we just don't want to leave this to chance. Right. And it's like any journey. When we go on journeys, we use maps, we use GPS to assess how we're doing along the route, so that if a speed bump comes along, if there's a detour, for example, we can tweak our course of travel so that we still get to our ultimate destination. And that's why it's so critical that we meet regularly. And I'm not talking about getting neurotic about, watching the stock market every hour kind of thing and getting ourselves an ulcer. I'm not talking about that at all. What I'm talking about is periodically. It may be quarterly, it may be semi-annually. For me personally, what I do is I've earmarked Independence Day and New Year's Day as 2 key days each year where I sit down and review my finances. And if I find that I am out of balance, like I have too much in taxable accounts or too much in tax-deferred accounts, not enough in my tax-free accounts, then I can do a sweep, as it were. I can reposition money. I can tweak things as I go along based upon whatever life has brought me during the last 6 months. Like anyone else, the last few years for us have been tough in my family. I mean, there's been a lot of setbacks, certainly COVID and health issues and things. We have to be able to respond to those things. And so we want to know, what are our odds of success, and are we course correcting along the way?
But you point out something very important here, that whether life is going great or you've had some setbacks, really doing a reassessment of your finances, your different accounts, your different income streams, those kind of things, at least doing it 2 times a year is a minimum. Clearly, as things happen throughout life, you want to do a check-in here and there. Let's say maybe you lose a job, you lose a spouse, you welcome a grandchild, all these different life markers, as you will. That's a good indication that you need to do a check-in with your finances. And, you talked about, running out of money. That of course, is the number one fear when it comes to planning for retirement. That is the one thing that everybody's terrified of.
Amen.
Yeah, amen is right. I mean, I think we all can agree with that. So part of, not having that worry is by creating different streams of income, right? It can't just all be from, you can't have all your eggs in one basket, right? We talked about being diversified at some point, and you want to make sure that you're getting your income from, this angle over here and this angle over here. I mean, it's got to come in from different ways to make sure everything adds up. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I totally agree with what you're saying there. It's a basic principle of safety is we want to diversify not only how our assets are growing, but also our sources of income. Because at the end of the day, retirement planning isn't about who's got the greatest pile of toys or the greatest pile of cash. It's about who's got the income. It's income that we live off of. And so we've got to have security there. When we look, for example, at all these projections about Social Security having to be decreased, in the range of 20 to 25% here, in the next decade, that should give concern to people. No, I personally think they're going to do some things to deal with that, but that gives concern to a lot of people. They're reading that stuff and they're thinking, wait a minute, if Social Security is a key part of my income, I don't have a pension, how am I going to survive? Do I need to get involved in, do I need to become a landlord and get real estate, or do I need to get into real estate investment trust, for example?
Do I get a part-time job? I mean, it's, all of it.
If I don't have a public pension, do I have a private pension, either from a private corporation, or it's possible as individuals to actually set up assured streams of income, lifetime income assurance through insurance companies. Some people call it insured income. So there's ways to do this. So certainly Social Security is one leg of the stool. Pensions historically have been another leg. Our savings have been a leg. But we need to build in predictability. And so there's ways to do that, to structure it and to create contractual guarantees where people can sleep well at night because they have different streams of income. If one thing goes bad, as life shows us, it can and will, we've got to have fallback options. I'm a big fan, for example, of home equity conversion mortgages, not something we normally talk about here, commonly called reverse mortgages. Once they're understood, and the vast, vast majority of people don't understand them, but once they're understood, they're an incredibly safe option for creating tax-free income in retirement. Most people don't realize that their biggest source of wealth is their home equity. Well, there's different ways that can be utilized far more productively than most Americans are using it. And on average, we can improve a person's retirement plan and certainly their legacy, their estate, by anywhere from 20 to 40% by utilizing home equity-based strategies. And that's an avenue that, frankly, because people are hearing incorrect information, these myths around home equity conversion mortgages, because they don't understand them, they don't even realize that they've got the potential for much greater security. Now, I don't sell those. You got to talk to licensed mortgage brokers, but I've taught those concepts for 17 years in my educational courses. And it's important people look at what are my avenues. It's not about assets. At the end of the day, it's about income. I'd love to sit down with people who have this kind of anxiety and help them relieve it. Let's help them get some clarity as to what resources do they truly have at their disposal. Many people don't realize the resources that they have. And let's look at ways to turn that into income that gives you the assurance, that gives you the dignity, that gives you the peace of mind, the ability to sleep well at night. I'd love to visit with people like this. We offer a complimentary review. We sit down, typically takes an hour, sometimes a little bit more. People have a lot of questions, but we lay things out on the whiteboard. Everything's there visual, and they can see where are we at, what are our opportunities, what are the strengths that we currently have, and what are the weaknesses? I mean, what are the obstacles that could kind of blow up in our faces? We identify those things. We highlight them right there on the whiteboard. People often, frankly, take pictures of the whiteboard because they get to see visually at a glance, where am I at? Where do I need to go? And oh my heck, this was always available. I just had to schedule an appointment with this guy. And so we invite you, give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you and spend a little time, help you out, give you some peace of mind.
And if you'd like this opportunity to sit down with Mark one-on-one for this complimentary review, I invite you to visit the website. Contact information is there, and more information about Mark and the team. Again, the website, gyfinancial.com. We appreciate you joining us again for Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement, the podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.